Welcome to the Driven by Us podcast, driving change in STEM and media within automotive and motorsport. This season, we'll be speaking to key figures and inspiring role models within the industry.
Tonight, we are reflecting on how far we've come and what still needs to change. And we've got four amazing panelists for that. They're experts, they have a lot of expertise, they have a lot of talent, and I am very, very honoured to be hosting this panel. I just wanted to introduce you four to everyone, although I assume everyone knows who you are, but otherwise I feel like it would be rude. So next to me is Ariana Bravo. We've heard from her already, and you will have seen her on Channel 4 on Formula 1 Track TV. And if you have been to any of the GPs recently, you will have seen her amazing, funny, engaging, and very knowledgeable interviews with the drivers on stage. She's a big inspiration for many, and for me as well. So
That's
very
very
happy
sweet.
to have you. Next to her, we've got Calum. Calum you will have also seen around. He did over 13 seasons with Red Bull, so he's an absolute legend. He's recently transferred into the ambassador life, so I'm very excited to hear about how that's going. And he's also released a book called Life in Pit Lane. So yeah. Lots of talents there. Very impressive. Then we've got Stephanie. I need to read this title because otherwise I would slip up. It's Senior Safety Calibration Engineer at Bosch, specialising in functional safety for vehicles. And you will be telling us more about that because I couldn't, but it's a very impressive title. And then also you're a certified Grade A Motorsport Marshal with lots of experience in the UK and internationally. And then at the far end, this is James, and he is the reason we're all here. James is obviously the CEO of Driven by Us, and he was also an engineer who moved from BMW to McLaren to Haas to McLaren Racing to Mercedes and then to Driven by Us. So we're very glad to have him here. I'll start with a quick fire round that you guys haven't seen, so you guys don't know these questions and you can't think about them, so it will be honest answers, which I like. First round, what's the first motorsport memory that you have that inspired you?
That's a hard question. I would say that my first motorsport memory isn't necessarily a specific memory. It's more just I can remember when I was really little, like this high. I used to watch Formula 1 with my dad, and I just remember it being on at home. So I just have this very generic memory of like being really tiny and going in to sit and watch it with him, and him like having a beer and me like trying to drink the beer, but being like 4. So yeah, that's my first memory.
Very good. Calum?
For me, it's actually a very specific memory. I had the opportunity to go to the Silverstone Grand Prix in 2009, and it was during that pit walk on Sunday morning that I sort of went from thinking, oh, maybe I could do these jobs, to seeing people doing it and saying, I'm going to go and do these jobs. So it's sort of a light bulb moment for me, so yeah.
Very good.
I love that.
Love that, yeah.
I guess I have to summarise it a little bit, but my first memory is my grandmother would not allow us to eat before we went to church, and it was after church that we could eat, and F1 was on. So I used to watch F1 races. I was about 8 or 9, and Mika Häkkinen was the first driver that I followed.
Very good. I like that one. James, your first inspiring memory?
I think for me it's probably back in the 2000s when I actually remember going downstairs and trying to watch it on TV. Early mornings would have been straight at the time, so early start. And yeah, VHS on record, if anyone remembers VHS. Yeah, recorded into VHS, I can watch it later in the day as well. So first memory, early 2000s.
Okay, we'll stick with Mike on your side. If you could swap jobs with anyone in the paddock for one day, who would it be? You have to do the day of work.
I wouldn't mind trying to changes from the opposition teams. So like,
Okay.
Oh, smart.
So you're basically spying.
That's the competitor in you.
Okay, you're spying on the other teams. What about you, Stephanie?
I think I'd want Ariana's job. I'm not gonna lie to you. Every time she kills it every time, and so do you. Kind of, every time I see these guys, it's just like they get to talk to people, they get to be really personable, and just love that side of the sport as well. So I'd love to have that chance.
Okay.
I mean, the head of the FIA is up for re-election. I reckon I could do it for a day, and I think you probably want me there for longer. So yeah, I'd go for that.
Oh dear. That is a very good question. Okay, if I get the skill of the person whose job I'm taking, I would just be a driver, right?
Yeah,
if it's with my own skill set, then obviously not, because I'd be dreadful. I think I'd quite like to be a team principal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a big team?
Ooh, no. No, any team will do. Any team will do. Let's not get too controversial.
That is a lie. Come on.
Okay, a final quick-fire question, Ariana.
Yes.
If you had to describe your first day at work at Formula One racing in one word, what would this word be?
I remember it vividly because my first day was the first time I'd ever done any presenting in my life. So it was a shock.
Shock.
In a good way.
Seems to be an F1 theme because my first day of presenting was also F1.
I think I'd just go with amazing. I remember that first day in Russia, walking around the factory in Russia and just being sort of in awe. You know. So yeah, I'd go with amazing.
Amazing.
Quick. Like literally, I remember waking up, starting the day, my first ever like racing thing. I actually worked for a touring car team, and yeah, I remember waking up and then blinked and it was the end of the day, and I was like, what just happened? But there was so much that went on that I just wanted to keep doing it.
I think I would say pretty cool. So when you fire a car for the first time, especially start of the season, to get that engine noise, it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. We did that for team, so yeah, definitely cool.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that. I think I want to switch gears a little bit because Driven Battles is on a mission, and it is fantastic to hear everyone's stories and experience, but we're also here to achieve things. So, James, the first question goes to you. I think what I would find really interesting, we're going to start off from where we came from, and anyone who knows you well knows that you didn't have the most easy upbringing, and you've been through a lot of hardship, and you've always come out stronger on the other side. So I want to know what motivated you, what were the factors that made you found Driven by Us, and what got you started?
I think as a collector, I think working at an F1 team, obviously it could be a bit like saying something, they're on the talent. So what we wanted to do with Driven by Us is create a collective and be almost an extension of the place in one team. So you have employees on walks of life, and it's a case of where is the safe space for them, whether they congregate, whether they network and to speak and be those natural selves. So it was a case of literally creating that outside of what the specific Formula One team, creating as a collective, so it's open to everybody, and then those coming through can then be supported in their journey in terms of wanting to aspire to work in the industry, whether they want to work in STEM or be in media or be a specialist in visual eye. So those are the three kind of areas we focus on. It was a case of born out was not something being there that needed to be created for, I guess, the community and also the organisations and the teams, because we see the internal organisations in terms of the networks now forming. So yeah, we wanted to just do it.
How long were you thinking about founding something? How long was this feeling that something is missing lingering before you actually made the move?
I think probably when I saw Calum when I first stepped into the pit lane, so 2017, when I first saw Calum, so I thought to stick the camera down, but wow, it's going to end. Yeah, it's just a case of, right, okay, there's not many underrepresented groups in the pit lane, how can we make it better? It's just a case of not necessarily isolating any underrepresented group, but a case of improving the step, creating that joint mission, joint goal of improving the situation.
Okay, Calum, James mentioned there that it can be an isolating space, the racing world, and especially when you don't see as many people who look like you and you've come from similar places. You did 13 seasons with Red Bull. Maybe you can describe the landscape a little bit, what it was like when you first started and what you felt like.
I mean, when I first started, it was, I mean, now I look at the paddock, certainly in F1, and I look at sort of race teams, and it's almost like an entirely different sport from when I first started. When I first rolled in college, pretty much, 2009, pretty much all the way up until I joined Red Bull in 2015. I never had the opportunity to work alongside other people of colour. I worked alongside very, very few women in technical roles. So when I look at from when I started, even to that point, we made progress. And I kind of look at where we are now and seeing this collective of people all with like this sort of shared vision, this same mindset that we all want the same things from the sport we love. So I look at it, I think we've come a long way. But at the same time, there are some things that have been really difficult over the years in order for us to sort of get here. So it's nice that we've all come together to celebrate it.
It is, isn't it? Secondly, is it correct? I did my research, of course, and I read that you were one of just 2 women in your Motorsport tech degree class. Is that true?
That is correct.
How did that feel, and what motivated you to keep pushing for it and started the journey?
I think at the time, I'm one of those people that I will just push. So it doesn't matter who's around me, what's around me. If I see that goal, I'm going for that goal. I'm very happy to say that the other woman that's on my course is still my best friend today. And yeah, so we spend a lot of time together talking about the things that we're doing in the industry and what we're trying to do to change that. But in general, it's just about making sure that you understand what your target is, what you want to achieve, and how you want to achieve it. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
I think that is important to know where you want to go. But I think sometimes also this industry, like you said, it's very quick and sometimes things can happen surprisingly. And I think, Ariana, that was also the case for you because you come from a consulting background, right? And then your Instagram was discovered and off you go being the main F1 presenter. And that must have been challenging at times and couldn't have been the easiest path to just jump into.
It wasn't that it was easy. It definitely wasn't, because I had no experience before I came into this role. As I said, I'd never done any form of in-person presenting before I stepped foot at the racetrack and was handed a microphone and told to kind of get on with it. So there's definitely challenges, but I think that when you really want something and when you have a real passion for something and you know that this is a thing you're meant to be doing, that takes a lot of the stress away because you're able to keep yourself centered on what the end goal is. And as well as that, I worked with a lot of really incredible people, and I still work with a lot of really incredible people. So from the second I arrived in the paddock with my little F1 family, with FOM, I was made to feel completely welcome, and genuinely within a couple of weeks, I felt like I'd been there for years, and I knew that I could go to any of the people who were in that little inner circle and get any advice I needed or any help that I needed. So yeah, it is a difficult journey when you're transitioning from something that is entirely different from what you want to do, but it is made a lot easier if you have good people around you.
That's good to hear. And what I want to ask you as well is the topic of visibility, because often we say, if you see it, you can be it, and we talk a lot in terms of inclusion about having to see the person and that opening up opportunities. Do you think that is the most important bit? Do you feel like you needed that? You needed to see people who look like you? Or do you think it is deeper than that and it's not just surface level to be able to see the people, to meet the people?
I think it's really hugely important. I think especially for younger people, it's hugely important to see people that resemble them and come from similar backgrounds. And I don't think it can be understated how important that is. For me personally, I came into the industry when there wasn't anyone that looked like me. And I think it can vary person to person, and also I guess with age. I was a lot older when I came into the sport. I was in my late 20s, and I'm very much, thanks to my parents, have been brought up believing I could do anything that I want to do. So I didn't myself need to see someone to believe that I could do it. However, now that I'm in the role, I know that it is hugely important, and I take that responsibility very seriously. And I think that it is important for younger people especially to see, like, we've got young children here, and I think that, you know, if you're not seeing it on the screen and if you don't come from an environment where you have a community like the one we're sitting in front of, who can encourage you to do it, then of course seeing it is important. It's not the most important thing. I mean, it's okay to have people like ourselves who are in the space, but there also needs to be the opportunities for other people to get into the space. It's not a case of you have a few people who are visible and the job's done, like tick, well done. No, like I want to be able to bring my friends along as well. I want other people who are from similar backgrounds to also be able to be in that space. I'm not just there to like wave the flag myself and that's job done. So yeah, important, not the whole story.
Do you feel like you're seeing that change? Do you see that happening?
Yeah, I think as Calum said, there's been a huge change. Even in the few years that I've been in there's been a huge change, but it's a long old road, right? There's a lot of work to do. It's something that is beyond surface level. It's something that has to go deeper. It has to go to grassroots. It has to not just be the focus on F1, which is considered the pinnacle of motorsport. It has to be across all series. It has to be across all levels. And it has to be across a variety of demographics as well for it to be real change. And that takes time. That takes time to achieve. We're on the right path, but like, let's keep our foot on the gas.
We'll talk about that in a minute, a little bit more about what still has to be done, because I think the people in this room will be able to change a lot within the industry. Calum, for you, this year has been full of change. How has it been for you going from, I guess, a space where you've started to grow very comfortable because you've had a lot of experience and you've had your motorsport family around you, to now this new role, which takes you out of that, I guess, I don't know if it's an everyday life in F1, but I guess a routine, right? And how much does the diversity in that mission, which you've been vocal about, sort of still play a role in your ambassador role?
I mean, it's like you said, it's been big change. I've been speaking to the company this evening. I said sometimes still for me, sort of going from being a technician to essentially in my role now as a consultant and ambassador, we're still getting a little bit of that imposter syndrome. It's one of those things. I feel like I've been building towards this change for a little while. Obviously, I spent about 2 years writing my book, and it was always planned for it to be a bit of a stepping stone for me. But you know, I said earlier, it becomes like you become acutely aware. Like for me, and I know that there's like loads of creators out there, people in the space that have sort of been doing this on their own up until the point they're at now. For me, I've been quite lucky in that I was sort of already in the sport when I decided to change paths. So I was sort of using the platform I had and obviously the salary that I had whilst I was building this thing for myself. So I tried to make that transition as smooth as possible. But yeah, it's still been new and different, and there's been things I've had to adapt to. I think now, more than anything, in my new role, like essentially I'm doing things that I've been doing already, except that now I'm allowed to do them, which is really nice. Essentially now it's my role to do them, whereas in the past I was sort of, you know, as any of you that read my book, I've just been sort of seeking forgiveness rather than permission, and I've been going out and doing it and trying to do the best I can. So now it's just really nice to sort of have the freedom and the sort of agenda to go out there and obviously represent the team, but also dedicate my time to some of the projects that I'm doing what I do.
Do you feel the pressure with that as well? Because I guess before all the ambassador type roles were more your choice, whereas now it's your job. Does that change how you view it and how it feels?
I think more than anything, I think if anything, it just makes it easier. Obviously, I haven't got the stresses of a 24-race calendar, so I can really dedicate my time and my focus to doing it well. So whilst, yeah, it's sometimes a little bit scary having this responsibility to now go out and make sure I'm doing those things, at the same time, it gives me a bit of freedom to do it really well and not worry about all the other stuff I'm supposed to be doing in the garage.
That's good. That's good to hear. Secondly, you are both at a major engineering firm and then also very close to the racetrack, and you've got a whole lot of experience. Have you seen some actual change? Have you felt it in the last years? And if so, what do you think has changed from an inclusivity perspective?
It's very interesting actually, because I lead the inclusivity group at my workplace as well. And those changes are ebbing and flowing. There's very much the change happens sometimes and then it goes away again because people feel the work is done. We've hit that target, we've done that event, we've seen, okay, we've got that tick box, that's it. And I'm like, no, we have to keep going. We have to keep it moving. So yeah, so there's some work still to be done from a workplace point of view. From a marshalling point of view now, we got some work to do.
Explain.
There ain't many of us. That's the best way I can put it. And when I joined in April 2022, my first race was at Brands Hatch. I was the only person of colour there as a marshal. Now it's not the case. I'll see a few groups and I'll be like, yeah, what's up? But and then when you go internationally, so I just came back from Miami this week. And in Miami, you think like America, there's over 700 marshals. There's only 10 of us that were of colour. That's insane. And, you know, they have 3 races a year. We need to be getting those on board. We need to be getting those people there to show the same demographics that you're seeing in that American culture. So, yeah, so there's work still to be done. We're still out there. I'm still touting about marshalling. It is hard. A lot of people think marshalling is easy because we're just sitting at the side of the track. No, it is difficult because we have to communicate with race control, with the drivers, with other marshals. But once you understand and you sit down and you see it, it's fun. It really is so much fun. Like, even the long day, like Calum did long days, we're doing the same long days as these guys, and we're not getting paid for it. So yeah, once we explain that and you sit there and you grasp it, it will happen, and I think we will get more people there as well.
Why do you think it is so few people of colour? Is it an access issue? Is it a communication? Is it systematic? Have you pinned down where the block is?
It's mainly access. A lot of people are interested but don't actually know how to do it. Like, I'll get people asking me all the time, oh, how did you get into marshalling? I'm go on Motorsport UK, sign up, do your training, come out. And everyone's like, is that it? Yeah. You only need to do 2 days a year, minimum, to keep your license. That's it. Now, I do 15 because I'm mad, but but yeah, it's minimum 2 days a year. You get out, you see racing right in front of you, you get to help support grassroots racing, because if you don't support grassroots racing, we're not going to get those drivers that are going to come up to F1 and to those levels that we need them to. So, and we're at a point now where we're actually starting to lose more marshals than we have. So we need to back those up and get new people in. So definitely, I know I'm on my soapbox, I'm sorry, but please come along.
Very good. Hearing that, I think it's so incredible because there are so many points where we could start to improve, right? Racing is such a huge system that every end, whether it's in front of the camera, trackside, there are so many points where we need to work on. James, I'm keen to know, with Driven by Us, you've got so much going on. What would you say has worked really well so far, and what is Driven by Us keen to tackle coming up next? Big question.
So what's worked well so far? I think obviously the community, the role models were linked, going out to be that representation specifically in this active areas around the UK, so we would take motorsports to them. What that might look like is perhaps a STEM module of changing policy car preferences around, getting them interactive with the material hands-on, having that module delivered by the working with the industry as an example. So that's worked really well. Our community events, they've had 100% attendance rates. So since we started, any kind of community activity to put on, the community members have access to, and that's what helps with providing access to the multiple venues across various series. So I think those are the ones that I've done well. In terms of, I guess, next steps and focusing, probably obviously expanding to North America as we're doing this year, and probably just trying to increase that accessibility. So working with the F1 teams, the likes of Dornor, likes of Extreme H, just to show what's possible, and be engaged in terms of the various initiatives and programs that they run. Because we've shown that we can deliver activations, deliver programs across the UK and overseas. We can be a leading organisation that the series and the organisations will actually work with, because we have the community, we have the model, we have the deliverables, we have the track record, because of the lived experience and the experience within it. So obviously we're going 2 years apart. For example, Calum's been in the industry since 2009, so that's his volume, that story that we told us to those coming through.
You touched on the topic of community there, and I think that's something you've really, really done well, to create this community which feels like a family, and just knowing that there is someone you can chat to at any racetrack you'll be at. And I think I just wanted to say for me personally, it's really done that, because like I mentioned earlier, Formula One was my first presenting job and I was lost, and I was into that paddock, and I was telling some of you guys earlier that I felt like everyone was looking at me like, she's new, what is she doing here? And obviously they didn't, but it felt like that. And knowing now that even if it's a new paddock, I can go on a group chat and I can text and see who's there, and I will have someone to chat to. That is amazing, and I think that deserves a round of applause. Maybe you guys, Stephanie, you can start and tell us what the community has done for you, because I'm sure you guys are involved in a lot of racing and you are with these people a lot more, so maybe you have an example where it's really come in handy to have this community.
I think for me, it's been about talking to people when you have concerns or you have questions. I've been able to talk to James, I've been able to talk to Francis at the back over there. You know, I've been able to talk to so many people. Savannah, I've talked to you at some point about some social media stuff. It's really been that community of just being able to talk to people that are interested in your passion and what you do.
Calum, do you remember moments where the community has made all the difference for you?
Yeah, I think it's going to sound a little bit selfish, but I think for me, finding an outlet that I could sort of give back to has been massive for me. Certainly, much like Ariana when I started in the sport, as I said, there were very few black people working in the sport. And I sort of had this thing where I had to just crack on and do what I needed to do to achieve my goals. But that whole time you're doing that, I think that I sort of, in some way, accumulated a little bit like almost guilt, like I wasn't giving back and I wasn't trying to help the next generation come through. So for me, James sort of founding Driven by Us, it was perfect. It gave me like an outlet where I felt like I could give back and I could do some stuff. And a little while ago, James reached out to me about the Blair project and one of the things they were doing, just getting out and getting down there and talking to young people and helping them. It's been an amazing outlet for me, so I'm really thankful for it.
Ariana, is it the same for you? Because I can imagine with a lot of travelling and everything, sometimes it's tricky to keep in touch with things that might be a passion, but aren't part of the job description. How has it felt for you?
Yeah, it's obviously a little bit more difficult being on the road, but I really echo what Calum said as well, to be honest. I think that we're fortunate that we're in a position where we are in the paddock and we are in the F1 world and we're working these incredible jobs that so many people look up to or, might want advice about and things like that. And I think that the most important thing you can do in those positions is give back. And for me, community is everything. And there isn't, I always say it, there is nothing more important than me. There's nothing more important to me. There's nothing more important than me. No.
She's a bit like that.
There's nothing more important to me than giving back. It's something that I've said from the get-go. I mean, if I was to get to the end of my career and wasn't to have achieved certain things and given back in certain ways, and it literally means nothing. I was in a meeting yesterday where I was asked, in terms of when you look in a few years, what is the end goal? If you were offered, I'm not going to go into the specifics, but if you were offered this role, would that be more important to you than giving back in this project that I'm basically trying to get off the ground? And I was like, yeah, I would genuinely choose the giving back project, even if it meant I didn't reach the heights of what my career could get to in terms of the presenting. Because there's more to life. There's more to life than just ticking the boxes on the career pathways. And I'm so grateful that I'm even in this position already to be in the paddock. But it really means nothing if you're not helping other people along the way. It means nothing. Like,
it can get lonely as well, can't it?
It can get lonely, and I just don't really see the point if you're not bringing other people along the journey.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like because we're also recording this, and hopefully the people who make decisions in the industry will get to hear some of these conversations. And I think a lot about when I think about Driven Bells, what we've achieved so far, and it is incredible. But sometimes I wonder, are there any things from your perspective, and I'll come to you guys as well, that we're missing? Is there anything that you, Ariana, have witnessed, or you think we really need to change this in the industry and we haven't done it yet? Anything that's stuck out?
God, that's a hard question. There's nothing that comes immediately to my mind. That's not to say that there aren't things, but there's nothing that comes immediately to my mind. For me, the most important thing, or the thing that I enjoy the most, is just talking to people. I think that there needs to be as many opportunities as possible to have conversations with people that are trying to get into the industry or that want advice. And they need to be conversations where you're actually able to ask the questions that you want to the people directly. I think that often, this is great, this panel, but often things are panel-led and you're hearing from us, with you obviously crafting fantastic questions, but it would also be fantastic for people who have really specific niche questions to actually be able to have a conversation in a smaller circle. And that's something that I really think is important, because I know that when I was trying to get into the industry, you can do a lot of the DMing people, messaging people, asking for advice. You don't always get answers because they're very busy, which is understandable. But being able to just sit and just fire off your questions, as silly as they might seem, without doing it in such an open forum, I think is really helpful. Obviously, everyone's limited on time, so it's not that easy. And this is a fantastic way of sort of getting a wider message out. But I think that our industry could do a lot better at crafting those smaller groups to really dig into the details, especially when it comes to presenting and things.
Yeah, and I guess it's important as well because the listening part, right? When it's a smaller group, they hear better what the message and the requirements are. Calum, does something come to mind with you working with big team, big brands? Are the big companies missing something? They are often the ones who pull the thread on the media side of things. What is being received from the people who consume the sport? So those companies are more important than, well, not more important, but often more influential than the individual. Do you think they're missing something, or are they on the right path?
No, I think that on the whole, whenever I speak to big businesses, I'm a huge advocate for apprenticeships. That's like my thing. Ultimately, I wouldn't be in the sport if I hadn't been able to work whilst I was earning and learning. So I think when I talk to the team back at Red Bull, when I talk to things like this, I think for me, supporting apprenticeships, having influence over government policy and legislation for apprenticeships is a huge thing that I'd like to see the industry do a better job of. Because ultimately the skill set, when you're learning these roles like mechanics and technicians, when you learn it as an apprentice, it's a skill set that you can take into so many other industries, so it's beneficial society-wide anyway. But it's also tied up in lots of red tape and things like that. So I think for me, I always advocate for trying to make apprenticeships easier, more accessible, and just more of them. Good.
Yeah. Stephanie, you kind of answered that question already. You were saying that the marshals don't that the access just isn't there. What is the next step once the access is established, and that's what you're helping with? What needs to happen so that sense of community can also exist in that space?
I think the sense of community as a marshal is there. Once you're in, we call it the orange army. Once you're in the orange army, that's it.
He's smiling.
You can't get out. So, but it's the access, is people knowing what it is. And the other thing about access is getting to the tracks. A lot of tracks you'll see are dotted around the country for reasons that they need to be. But let's say, for example, Brands Hatch, Kent. You can't get a bus to the track if you're a marshal, because you need to be there before 8 o'clock in the morning, and there's no buses that run before 9. You can't leave the track after 5 and get transport back to the station, because the station's 10 minutes away, because there's no transport back. That's a simple accessibility issue that we can say, okay, people that don't have transport, we can run a transport service, pick them up, get them to site. Silverstone has a similar issue. So these are quick wins that we can solve, and then by that way get everybody involved. It's something for the few, but it benefits the many.
When you say it sounds quite simple, the access issues. Who needs to be loud about it so that it can be put into reality? Because you're saying it here to us, we hear it from you, but where does it need to go so that it actually comes into fruition on a big level?
It has to go to the track owners. So a lot of the tracks are privately owned. Some are owned by the BRDC. So then we have to have those discussions and we have to sit down and have those discussions. But if the chief marshals, who are the ones that organise the marshals on the race weekend, are not involved in those discussions, then it becomes more difficult. So I'm now trying to target chief marshals for different series and say, this is something we can solve, how can we solve it? And some are actually open to that discussion. So we're starting to have those discussions now.
That's brilliant. James, Driven by Us has done so well, and I think there's so much in the pipeline that we're all very excited to see and get involved in. For the people who aren't heavily involved yet, for whatever reason, why should they get involved?
Well, our membership model was very accessible and time. We obviously compensate for your time. It's quite expensive, to be honest. So typically, membership's only £6. You go and do a volunteering day, stay at Silverstone, you pay for your travel in terms of mileage accumulation. That's typically, if you travel from London to Silverstone, that's 75 miles each ways. That's what £80 will translate into 25 per mile. So if your incentive is to have financial rewards, then okay, we can cover that. Great, but it's also about yourself, getting to network, getting to meet people, getting yourself through the door to kind of progress your career and relate to your aspirations. So we're here as a support mechanism, as well as you guys in the back you can take from us as a community and progress yourselves. That's why we're here to support, be that mechanism for those individually emerging improvements. If you're into the financial rewards, then that's it.
Perfect. That's great. I just want to touch on the younger generation because we have got a few younger people here, which is fantastic. And I think it's all about them in the end because we're already in the industry, we're trying to change it, but really for the next generation. So maybe each of you, because you have such different fields that you work in, could give me a little message of encouragement or some tips how to get into the industry, into the jobs that you're doing, and something that would have helped you if you had heard it a few years back when you started out.
I think have that longevity in mind, so when you want to get to a particular point in time, you want to be a driver, you want to be an engineer, be a mechanic, be a presenter, have that vision. Go 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Don't give up on that dream. Keep going, keep believing in yourself, keep believing you can do it. Surround yourself with people that can support you. Surround yourself with a coach, advocate, someone that can shout at you, someone that can support you. Things will go wrong, but as long as you have a support mechanism, support system around you, you can definitely get to where you want to be, regardless of that period of time. Use us as the community to help them the way.
Thank you. Stephanie, same question to you.
I think it's just that having fun. Make sure you're always having fun when you're doing what you do. A lot of people, when you come into engineering in general, it becomes a real drain after a while because you're just doing it and doing it and doing it, but you're not enjoying what you're doing. And the reason why I've been able to be so long, and James and Calum and both of you, because we're having fun doing it. So just keep making sure you're having fun no matter how you go through.
Calum, what's something that would have helped you at the start of your career?
I think when I look back at my career, the only thing that I'd say that I'd do differently was that I wish I'd just discovered racing sooner. For starters, any of you that have ambitions of a travelling role, it's definitely a young person's game. For sure. But I think the thing that I would say to my younger self is sometimes the hardest bit of a career in racing is just getting started. But you've got an organisation driven by us that if you can just find that first bit of drive to just get started and engage with it, you will find those opportunities. A little bit of assistance for me. It was walking up and down the garages of Silverstone one day until I found a team that would let me work for free. That was that first little step that I needed to take. Obviously, when I did that, there weren't organisations like Driven by Us doing this work. So now you've got better opportunity than ever to engage, find some sort of motorsport that you can get involved with, and just make that first step.
Ariana, as a presenter, there's so many young people who aspire to do what you do right now. You said that before, that you're very aware of it, and I bet your team was flooded with you. But maybe we have like a general piece of advice. Again, you came into it a little bit by mistake, but maybe you have something that would have helped you at the start as well.
Yeah, I think firstly I would say networking is one of the most important things in this industry. I am terrible at networking. I'm awful at it. If I'm honest, I am so socially awkward despite my job, and I find it really uncomfortable. But you have to put yourself out there, and you have to force yourself to network, because it is the most important thing. There are times in my career where things haven't necessarily gone the way that I would want to, and because of the network that I've built, I've been able to call up people and say, I really need your help in this situation, and they've stepped in and they've saved the day. That's not possible without a good network. And second of all, I would say block out the noise. It is so easy in this day and age to get distracted by what you see online. You've got to block that out, especially if you're going into the presenting, the content creating field. There are so many people doing it, and you will find yourself comparing yourself endlessly to other people's highlights that you're seeing on social media. And now that I'm in the industry and I see some of the behind the scenes, I know it's not real. It's just not real. There are people that I know people might look up to, and I know behind the scenes things can be falling apart. There are times where you might have looked at my pages and thought things are great. For all you know, I was having a dreadful time. There have been times over the last few years where I've literally thought, oh my God, this could really end really badly. On Instagram, I'm having the best time ever. You guys don't know. I'm at every racetrack interviewing the drivers, living my life. In reality, I'm like, oh my God, I need help out of this sticky situation. And it's really hard to do. I know that it's easy to say, block out the noise, don't pay attention. It's such a deep rooted thing, and it's an issue that we just have in society. But you've got to be strict with yourself, guys. You've got to be strict with yourself. You've got to stay focused on what your goal is. And if it's not for you, you've got to let it pass. If you think it's for you and it doesn't come to you, it's not for you. Okay, guys? You've got to focus on the next thing. Because there are some opportunities that I thought oh my God, I can't believe I didn't get this. This is the worst thing ever. And then I'm like, oh no, it's because actually God had something else lined up for me. And thank God for that. And it's all worked out how it was meant to. So block out the noise, please.
I think that's a very large that resonated very deeply. This fantastic panel has got so much expertise, so the networking bit is so important. I am the same. Although I do public speaking, I hate it because I have hearing as well. So I'm always what, constantly. But yeah, do take advantage.